1,
2,
3, 5,
6.
7.
The Occupy Wall Street movement is a group of people who feel they are facing social injustice at the hands of the top 1% of wealth in the United States. But is this a fight for justice, or a misguided group creating chaos just for the sake of chaos? During this speech, I will cover these points. Who inspired this movement? What do they hope to accomplish? What tactics are they using? What are their detractors saying? And where is this movement headed? OccupyWallStreet.org tells us that this is a leaderless movement of the people. However, many news agencies believe that it was started by the anti-consumerist magazine Adbusters, although Adbusters calls the movement leaderless as well. The Occupy movement started in Kuala Lumpur, the capital city of Malaysia, in July of 2011. They were also protesting social injustice. It is now run by the 99%ers, who are those who claim to be disenfranchised by their economic position. The group is mostly made up of 20-somethings whose income is less than $40,000 a year. When looking at what the group hopes to accomplish, we learn from OccupyWallStreet.org that the movement aims to expose how the richest 1% of the world are writing the rules of an unfair global economy that is foreclosing on our future. Adbusters.org makes a further statement: we vow to end this moneyed corruption of our democracy. The exact aim of the group is hard to distinguish. However, the main point seems to be that the protesters believe that it is the corporate greed of America that has caused the crisis that our financial system is in. Their ultimate aim seems to be to cause disruption to the system that they blame, and there are some that are calling for an increased taxation on the top 1%. The tactics that the protesters are using is that thousands of people fill Zuccotti Park every day. The protesters have renamed this Liberty Square. Zuccotti Park is a park adjacent to Wall Street. During the day, several thousand people fill the park, and at night, several hundred sleep there. Zuccotti Park is a private property, which is why the police cannot simply sweep in and force the crowds to disperse. No tents are allowed, therefore everyone that sleeps overnight must just simply cover with blankets or sleeping bags. During the day, the protesters hold up signs stating their plight and their issues with the top 1%. There are numerous speeches given every day as well. No electronic means can be used to amplify their voices without a permit. Therefore, the group has created what they call the human microphone, which is essentially a group of protesters who shout out each sentence immediately after the speaker gives it. Their hope is to cause chaos and disruption to the Wall Street area, which they hope will draw attention to their cause and allow them a platform to speak against the corruption that they perceive. The detractors of the movement are numerous. This has become a political issue with pundits on both sides weighing in. The conservative voices, such as Peter Schiff from Response.tv, are almost unanimous in agreeing that although the group is rightly outraged, they are protesting in the wrong area. The belief of the conservative side is that the financial woes are caused by the government and poor policies that have kept our capitalist system from correcting itself by offering bailouts and raising taxes. The bigger detractor than those that even disagree politically are those that just are simply frustrated by the fact that there seems to be no clear agenda for the Occupy Wall Street protesters, other than simply to protest that some are wealthy and they are not. OccupyTogether.org states that Occupy everywhere is becoming the new cry. Many major metropolitans are seeing Occupy movements beginning. Some have even become violent as protesters tangle with police. At this point, they are grassroots movements held together loosely through social media platforms such as Twitter. The agenda is still unclear as to what each group hopes to gain from their protests, although all seem united on the idea of seeing what they believe would be social justice and having the top 1% pay heavier taxes or willingly be more generous with their earnings. Though their methods are very disorganized, the Occupy movement, specifically the Wall Street location, seems to have garnered much attention for themselves. If they are able to come up with more unified list of demands, and if those demands are ever met by the government or the top 1%, remains to be seen. Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Sure.
Now, how are the protesters able to stay at these locations for so long? Do they have any funding?
They do. There's been some controversy over that. The Republican conservative side of the aisle has thrown several liberal companies or different political platforms as saying that they are the ones that are funding it. So far, no one's really claimed ownership of funding, although more than $400,000 has been raised. Some of that's just through buckets at the locations, people dropping money in. But it does take over $1,000 a day to feed all of the protesters, and they have to stay on the property, so it has become quite costly. Yes?
Have the crowds been able, or have the police been able to disperse the crowds at all?
Actually, yes. Just yesterday, they were able to disperse them for a short time. They called it the grounds as cleaning because they said that the area had become unsanitary, although quickly the judge overturned and they were allowed to return last evening.
If the original goal of Occupy Wall Street was just to disrupt Wall Street, why are there regional occupations happening?
There's a lot of questions about that as well. Some believe it's just simply people looking for their moment in the spotlight. Those around the area, even Occupy Austin, has been, their call is solidarity, even though they're unable to actually get to Wall Street. They're still trying to show their solidarity for the cause. Thank you.
One.